All right, guys. Our next guest will be taking on Demian Maia at the incredibly stacked UFC 194. He joins us live from one of MMA's biggest hotbeds, Dublin Ireland. Gunnar Nelson, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Gunnar, before we get into it, we have to ask you about your experience at UFC Dublin last weekend, where your fellow teammate Aisling Daly had an amazing reception from the crowd and got a big win. Just wondering, how cool was that moment for the team, and what did you make of the whole event?
It was one of the nicer walkouts I've ever seen, to be honest. Like, the crowd was absolutely crazy, and everybody was singing with the song, and there was some atmosphere in there, you know. And it's this card actually had its ups and downs for us, you know. We lost a couple of fights as well that we were looking to win, obviously, and we actually walked in on my friend Cahill, where he lost in the first round, and then Paddy Houlihan lost in the main event. I thought he was the better fighter, to be honest. I thought he did really well, but he got caught in the second round, if I remember right, and lost the fight. So it was a bit, yeah, it was a tough night. But then Aisling had a great win, and that lifted the atmosphere up, I thought.
Let me ask you, Gunnar, because when Pendred was fighting, there was a shot of Conor McGregor just standing up for the majority of the fight. Did you get anyone sitting behind you asking Conor to sit down, please?
No, I did not.
He does what he wants.
Someone's like down in front, and then it realizes Conor. They're like, never mind, continue standing, sir. Yeah, Gunnar, you're in Dublin, but you're training under Las Vegas time. It's almost 1 a.m. where you are at the moment. How's your daily schedule looking at the moment? I mean, what time are you normally training? What time do you go to sleep?
We go to sleep like, I don't know, maybe 3, sometimes later. But yeah, between maybe 3 and 4 in the morning. And then we wake up 1 or 2, go to the gym and train, and then train again at night. So that's kind of the schedule usually.
Finishing training at 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, you'd run into a lot of people heading home from the club, people going out. What do you guys get up to after training before you go to sleep? Do you ever just go wander the empty streets of Dublin?
Not really. We just kind of wake up, go to the gym, and then hang around there. Then we go grab something to eat. You know, every now and then we'll go to town. You know, Conor likes his shopping, so we go there and pick up a few things. And we've been meaning to go to this Russian sauna place now for 3 weeks. We never get to it, but we're looking to go tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes.
I hear it's open at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's open at 3 a.m. in the morning?
No, it's I think we're going to get it around 10 o'clock p.m., you know.
Wow.
Are you sure it's a sauna?
I hear those Russian saunas are pretty intense. Well, you know, it's nice and relaxing in a sauna, but last time we spoke, you mentioned how burnt out you felt, and you know that it was a big reason why you took such a long break before you fight against Brandon Thatch. You scored a devastating knockdown in the first round, ended up choking Brandon out. You looked fantastic, but how did you feel in the fight? Did you feel like yourself again?
Yeah, I felt great. I've felt great for a long time now, and training is very good, and I'm more focused than ever, really. So like, took some time off and got things back on track, you know. And that's what you need when you're competing at this level. And you know, this game has always been very special to me. This is who I am, and this is what I love to do. So I need to do it. I need to do it the way I want to do it, and do it right, you know.
Well, your next opponent is Demian Maia. You almost fought Demian at the most recent Dublin card. However, Demian had to pull out with a nasty staph infection. How disappointed were you that you couldn't fight him in front of the Irish crowd?
Yeah, it would have been a great main event, I think. But especially when you consider that the main event didn't even happen this time, or the one that was supposed to be. But yeah, you know, this is how this game is, you know. I was hoping to get him there, and then that changed, and usually my opponents change as well, so I'm not even sure if I'm going to fight him. It's no point getting too attached to Maia, to be honest, because like if you look at my career, almost every single fight there's been a change of opponent.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if I can think of any fight where there hasn't been, you know. So it's yeah, I just get ready. I train well, and I get myself ready, you know, and get myself ready for anything.
You mentioned how the main event didn't happen in Dublin, and just want to grab your thoughts really quickly. What did you think of Dustin not sticking around after Duffy got hurt? Do you think he should have taken someone else on?
I would have, I definitely would have, but he goes his own ways and he has his own ideas, I guess, and you know, I don't really care what he does, but I think I he probably like I would have definitely taken this fight. You know, you've done the whole camp and you're ready to fight, and if not all that, then you're not getting paid if you don't fight. So maybe he got paid something, but he would have gotten more paid. I guarantee if he would have fought. And then well, why are you in this game if you don't want to fight? It's it's not the way I think, but you know, it's people are different.
It's an interesting one. Obviously you not being able to fight at the Dublin crowd, there would have been that sort of, you know, home feel to it, but do you feel like you got almost an upgrade? You're on this insanely stacked UFC 194 card in Vegas. Is it almost like an upgrade to you?
Yeah, I honestly think that I would have been on that anyway. You know, I could have gotten one in before, and then that one as well. That was actually what I was kind of looking to do, was getting in on Conor's card as well. So, but I'm very happy that I'm on this card. I'm very happy, even though I said that I don't get attached to my opponents. I'm very happy to be fighting Demian Maia. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and he's somebody that I know people want to see this fight. You know, it's a fight that a lot of, especially people that have done grappling, want to see. It's a grappler's dream matchup. You know, so. I think it's something that definitely had to happen, and I'm very happy it's going to happen this way, you know?
Well, you last fought at UFC 189, which was headlined by Conor McGregor. You're now fighting at UFC 194 again. It's headlined by Conor McGregor. What's going on? Is there some kind of exclusive 2-for-1 deal going on where only you fight on McGregor's cards now?
Yeah, I don't know, but it suits us well because we camp together, you know, so it's a very handy one, and I like it.
Well, we joked last time when you were on the show that if both of you guys won at 189, UFC 189, that you would take over Las Vegas and have your own version of The Hangover. Were we accurate? What was the post-fight celebration like?
It was, it was accurate enough.
Hangover? Did anyone get stuck on top of a building? You had to look for him for a day or two?
We were at the top of a building at one stage, but we weren't stuck.
Wow, somebody picked up a baby along the way, and someone got a Mike Tyson tattoo on their face. Looking at you, Gunnar. Now, Conor overcame a huge obstacle that night against a top fighter. However, he took criticism for the way Chad took him down and stayed on top of him. When you were watching that fight, were you surprised at all? Was it the same Conor that you saw regularly in training?
Yeah, you know, you're always a bit worried when you're watching your friends fight, but I knew that the Mendes was never going to be able to submit him. So, and it looked to me like he was just wearing out. And I know Conor, he'll go all day, you know. So, yeah, so I wasn't worried because I knew he wasn't going to be able to submit him. And it looked to me like he was starting to wear him down, you know. So I was positive, you know, looking at this fight, and it was obviously a tough one, you know. And Mendes did some good things, and but to me, even though I was, you know, we were a little bit worried, but then I always knew it was Conor's fight, and then even watching it again, I saw that there was no doubt, really, you know.
You know, obviously you got a lot of confidence in Conor having trained with him, but it came out recently that, you know, Conor McGregor injured his ACL very, very badly. I think around 80% tore it. You would have been with him, you know, in that training camp, seeing him. Was there any worry, you know, when you saw him? I don't know whether he was limping or what the situation was, but you know, was there any worry on your part from a teammate perspective? And how much do you think that ACL, you know, hindered his performance that night?
Well, you know, fair play to him. He couldn't walk for a while, and then he could wrestle, or grapple for a long time in the camp, and he basically just did rounds of boxing, and checked the kicks and all like that. But you know, he showed up on one leg is basically what happened. You know, he did the best he could, and he was injured. There's no doubt. You know that he was injured going into the fight. I mean, and he still performed, and you know that I think that's very respectful.
Absolutely, especially if, you know, with the way that he performed, it was really great. Now, you guys get along really, really well, and considering that you're almost polar opposites, he's loud and brash, and you're a lot more quiet and don't really talk much. How do you guys get along so well?
Yeah, we're just, I guess sometimes polar opposite just, you know, can be good friends and it can work really well, you know. So, like, it's, yeah, I like hanging out with him. I'm living with him right now in Dublin, and we always bounce off each other really well, you know, especially in training and with ideas and stuff like that. But I find him to be very easy to be around, like day to day. It's just, I don't know. I don't find that with all people, to be honest. I'm actually particular with the people I like to be around, but I find it's very, in a way, peaceful to be around them.
I feel almost like there's like a reality show in there. Something like a odd couple dynamic. You know what I mean? He's loud and brash. You're the sort of like strong, silent type. You know, I'm just wondering, kind of talk to us about the matchup. You know, everybody knows Demian Maia's world-class skills on the ground. You're also an amazing grappler. However, you have that karate background. What do you think are your biggest advantages over Maia in this fight?
I think my biggest advantage would definitely be speed. When it comes to the feet and the ground, I think Demian Maia is a very, very good grappler, and he's shown that he's very good in MMA as well, like his grappling. But I think still, when it comes to MMA, grappling it's a little bit different, you know, and I'm sure he knows that. But my grappling skills developed for MMA. They didn't develop for jiu-jitsu competitions, even though I did them as well. But my grappling has always been for MMA, and I think that's a little bit different. And I believe that's something that I'll showcase on in December 12th. You know.
Well, many people say that obviously you've got a big advantage in the standing department. Are you saying that you will test yourself on the ground against Demian if the opportunity presents itself?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you know me. I'll take the fight anywhere. I'll just grab whatever is there and grab whatever opportunity presents itself. You know, I like to. It's my style. I like to react. I like to see and what's the fighters I'm against and react to certain situations that I find and see. So that's my style. So I couldn't really make up a strict game plan or anything like this. I have loads of ideas of things that might happen in my fights, and I train them, and I train situations that I believe are likely to happen in a fight in general. But when I get in there, I look and I react.
I know, obviously, Demian Maia is heralded as, you know, for his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but obviously you've got your fair share of submissions, and you've obviously got your grappling medals. Do you think that, you know, if it came down to it, you being an opportunistic guy, would you see, you know, a scenario in your mind where you possibly see yourself submitting Demian Maia even? I know you're not a sort of, you know, game plan kind of guy, but do you visualize that at all?
Yeah, definitely. I do. And I could definitely see that happening.
Now, going into this fight, Gunnar, is there anything new you've been working on with the team, or is it more fine-tuning your current skills?
Well, I'm always working on something new. There's always something to add on and some new movements. I really like working new movements and things like that, and we always do that. And you're always adding to your game that you already have. I read somewhere or heard like a long time ago that, and it fits in this case, that I don't really like to talk about my weaknesses. I like to work on them, and I think that makes a lot of sense. That there's some things that you're working on that if you're talking too much about it, it just takes from it, I think. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me that a lot of times when you talk about things, it takes from them, from the feeling that I have towards them,
Mm-mm.
changes them to something that they're not. Or yeah, I get this feeling quite a bit. So there's some things that I just like to keep for myself. So, that they're just a feel. And there's a lot of things when it comes to this sport, when it comes to training, that I have a hard time of explaining or talking about, and it gets better as you get older, and I'm sure it's going to be better when I become a coach of my own, when I'm older. But right now, there's a lot of things that are just a feel, and that I like to keep in that way until it just changes into words, if that
Mm.
makes any sense. But there is a lot of things that new movements and new things that I work on, new situations, new ideas of countering certain energies from your opponent, countering certain situations that your opponent puts on you, and stuff like that. I'm very excited to showcase. There's a lot of, like I said, I'm back on track. There's a lot of new things. I feel like I'm being almost reborn into the sport.
Mm.
You get that feeling every now and then when you train really hard and you're really into something, that you feel like you get a big jump. You train and you train. You get a lot of them when you're starting. You feel like, oh, now I understand certain situations, and then it happens over and over and over again, and you become better, and your understanding becomes better. And as you get as you've been doing something for longer, it takes longer time to get that little jump.
Mm.
But then you get it, and you know it's still there. There's still that improvement, there's still that feeling where you can just learn something so much better, and get a feel for it. And that's really why I like this so much. I like just adding to my feel. I like yeah, just becoming better at something by feel.
Mm.
That's really what I love about this sport.
It's interesting for a guy who, you say you can't really put it into words, but you're actually almost like a wordsmith. I understand, I can understand, and a guy who is not a fighter, just a layman. I can understand, where you're coming from, and you sort of painted a very vivid picture. You mentioned sort of being reborn. Damian's currently ranked number 6 in the division, and he's proven to be dominant 170. You've only really sort of had, one, well, you've literally only had one loss, a win over him. Do you feel like that kickstarts the Gunnar Nelson comeback story and puts you square into the title hunt?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be looking at the title very soon now. I think that's my eyes are definitely going towards it, and although you don't want to look past anything.
Mm.
I, I definitely won't look past Demian Maia or anyone that I'm facing. It is about the journey. If you start moving too fast, you won't see the things that are around you, and eventually you'll build up yourself with holes. I don't want to do that. I wanna enjoy this journey, and I wanna notice everything, and I wanna build up a solid game. But I'm definitely looking at the belt, and I believe I will carry it next year.
Mm. Now, Gunnar, before we let you go, we want to bring up a subject that's fairly close to you. You tweeted out, would like to see new rules about weight cutting, too many trips to the hospital lately caused by heavy weight cuts. Your father, who is also the president of Iceland's MMA Federation, put out a long post detailing the issues with today's weight cutting rules. We just wanted to get your thoughts on the current issue in MMA.
Yeah, I agree with my dad in these matters. I just think guys should fight their weight, and it's as it is now. It's not really the fighters. It's the rules, and the fighters are just taking advantage of the rules, and they're working it the way it is, and they're actually fighting guys their weight because everybody cuts so much weight, except me maybe and a few others.
Mm.
But I think they should change it so people can just fight closer to their weight, so people don't have to be cutting all this weight to fight people their size. I just think it's a stupid, ridiculous situation that we've built up, and I feel like there's ways around it. There's ways to get rid of it, like that you can't exceed into the next weight class or over the next weight class above you or something like that. You know, when you're walking into the octagon, you can't, if you're fighting at 77 and the next weight class is 84 kilos or something, you can't be over 84 kilos because then you're over the next weight class. That could be a rule, you know, or something like that, you know. I don't really think about this too much, but I definitely have an opinion on this, and that is it. Just that people don't have to go through all this cut, and like I said, there's been a lot of accidents, and it's definitely not good for the athletes in the sport. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your brain. It's not good, and I don't see why we should be doing this. I think we should get rid of it, and I think we should get rid of it quickly, you know.
Well, one of the guys that probably does one of the toughest weight cuts is actually Conor McGregor. When he's cutting weight for one of his fights, do you ever worry about him, about his health? Because sometimes when he steps up on those scales, you can just see in his face, it's just a huge noticeable difference. And he almost looks like he's going to pass out sometimes when he steps up on those scales.
Yeah, you know, he does a big cut, and he doesn't like it, you know, and I don't think he's going to do it that much longer, you know. I think he's going to move up. I think he wants to move up, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to do this cut too many times, you know, and it definitely takes out of you. There's no doubt, you know. He has a lot of energy, and he'll toughen through it and all that, and fight really well, even though he does this cut. But I just think, looking ahead, that this is not good for your health, you know. And I don't think he should do it many more times. And I've told him that, and that's my opinion.
Sure. Speaking of moving ahead, as we wrap up this interview, Gunnar, you know, we got to know what your prediction is for your fight against Demian Maia. And, you know, obviously we mentioned Conor McGregor, you know, him being a teammate. He's got some pretty spot-on predictions for his fights. Has any of that rubbed off on you? How do you see yourself winning at UFC 194?
You know, I don't really like predicting my fights too much because then it kind of goes against my ideas of the way I fight, you know. But I definitely go in there and I will try to finish the fight. That's one thing I know that I will always try to, and that's one thing I know I believe I will. So I believe I will finish this fight.
Well, there you guys go. Check out Gunnar Nelson taking on Demian Maia on the stacked UFC 194 card, December 12th. And on the 13th here in Australia. Gunnar, thank you so much for popping onto the program. It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, thanks very much for having me.